So our next session, I think, will be an extremely exciting one. And for those of you who saw or followed Zurich, it was a session that was started there, and it's called Women Up. And I think, I mean, just a couple of words of background. I mean, I think it's an incredibly important session to end the day on. You know, I have seen, I mean, probably the person in the world most responsible for the success I've been able to have in my career other than my wife is Kate Robertson. Kate doesn't have the same ride I have in the world of business. I see her run into obstacles because she's a woman that I don't run into. You know, the smartest person I know in the world is my sister. You know, she didn't have as easy a time in the world of business as I've had because from a gender perspective, I have two amazing daughters, Agathe and Adeline. I would like them to come into a world where they don't have any barriers facing them and they can be every bit as successful as my sons can be. And I think there was a wonderful quote, which to me was still the quote of the whole of One Young World last year, when Christine Ockrent, the first ever female TV news anchor in France, said, "Women will have true equality with men in business when a clearly incompetent woman can still get the top job." And I thought it was just an absolutely brilliant way of nailing it. So against that backdrop, and I think really importantly as well, against a backdrop of, you know, what's the amazing thing about having 183 countries in the room is every single issue we can talk about means often dramatically different things to different people. So in the Western world, equal rights for women is much more about equal pay and no glass ceilings and equal opportunities. Whereas, as we've heard already today, in many parts of the world, it's about if as a woman you speak out, someone comes and tries to kill you. And so it's a very broad and diverse subject and a very complex subject. But I'm absolutely delighted to welcome to the stage two people who did such a fantastic job for us before on Women Up. It's Adeline Braescu-Kerlan and Emmanuelle Duez, who are One Young World ambassadors. They created Women Up to promote gender equality, and they've engaged with many of the world's companies to get them on board with this. The results of what they've done are hugely impressive, and I would love to welcome them to the stage now.
Thank you, Kate and David, for this introduction. Hello to all of you. As some of you may know, this is the second edition of the Women Up special session. And today, Kate and David upgraded the level of difficulty because we are not only standing in front of 1,200 people, we're standing between 1,200 empty stomachs and dinner. So we'll make sure it goes very smoothly. Today, the Women Up session is going to be about female leadership. And today, we are very lucky because we have 4 counselors who embody, each of them, a very special characteristic of female leadership. We can go as far as to say, as together, their qualities could be what would perfect female leadership look like. So without further delay, we'll welcome on the stage our counselors. They all look like supermodels. They also have super brains, they have super energy, and they're super inspiring. So you got it correctly. Today the session is all about super heroines.
Tout de suite. So please, welcome on stage, super writer.
Fatima Bouteau.
Super networker.
Carol Stone.
Super beauty.
Natalia Vodianova.
And super enterprise leader.
Caroline Miles. So before we get started, I'll just take a few words to explain you how the session will go this time. First, we are going to start with a presentation of an association called Women Up that Emmanuelle and I and 14 other people in France have been working over for the last 2 years. There's nothing heroical about it. Just a lot of day-to-day work, a lot of passion, and an all-time dedication to our team. And that's why with Emmanuelle tonight, we will be referred to as super teammates from now on. Second, we'll have an heroic session with the counselors and we'll have a lot of questions asked to them. And lastly, we'll have the great chance to hear from a last counselor who's going to be very inspiring. But let's start with a presentation of Women Up.
Women Up. The first question I would like to answer is, what is Women Up? Women Up is an association that deals with the triptych, Y generation, networking, and gender diversity. It's the first French association dedicated to this crucial issue of gender diversity in the workplace with a Y generation perspective. Women Up is an action based on a conviction, but first of all, it's a fabulous human success story. 3 years ago, Adeline and I met at the ESSEC Diversity and Leadership Chair. We worked together for Deloitte on this interesting issue of female leadership. We liked it. We liked the subject and we liked working together. 3 years after, Women Up is a big machine. 15 people working every day to transform a dream into concrete actions. 15 international companies joining the adventure. A club of 50 students particularly engaged, working with our partner companies to transform their internal policies into more sustainable ones. 5,000 people directly impacted by our actions. And if we had our media coverage, it's more than 1 million people aware of Women Up actions. But before the action, there is a very deep conviction, which is the source of our inspiration. Our generation, the Y generation, has the power to achieve gender diversity in the workplace. Why? Because we are the first generation where both boys and girls share, assume and claim the same expectations in terms of work-life balance. They ask companies to respect their private life. They are convinced that the key of happiness is a good balance between professional and personal areas. They want companies to become places of professional fulfillment, and they want to be respected as individuals in order to be more engaged, more motivated, and then more efficient. If they don't find this, they are more likely to quit. And this is what we call the Y revolution. Because if young men are looking for a good work-life balance, which is nothing but one of the main feminist demands of the last 20 years, that means gender diversity is no longer a female issue. It deals with the expectation of an entire generation. And this changes everything. For companies, providing a good work-life balance becomes a key business tool in order to attract and retain the best talents of our generation. And it's no longer about ideology. It's about creating a competitive advantage. Here we have the famous business case companies are looking for. Without BKs, no real evolution can be achieved in the workplace, but with a BKs, everything becomes possible.
And that's why we decided to act on 2 levels. First, we chose to organize massive sensitization towards Gen Y people so that they understand the superpowers that they have in themselves to finally achieve gender equality in the workplace. And second, we act in a very concrete way. We design targeted actions that involve both Gen Y people and firms to truly have an impact on the firm's policies. In order to maintain and to maximize our impact, we use the tools, the codes, and the power of our generation to convey new and very positive messages about gender equality. And here are 4 of the things that we do. First, what we do is fun. Obviously, you saw it. Gender equality is not a boring subject. And we think that fun can sometimes have a much stronger impact on people than catastrophism. So for instance, last year, we organized a symposium called How the New Kens and Barbies Will Conquer the World that seduced Gen Y people, but also CEOs of big companies, and that was actually a perfect occasion to speak about very important subjects, but on a fun tone. Second, we propose the companies to change their views on gender equality, and that's why we involve them every step of the way, and we work hand in hand with the corporation. Third, we work on the content, and we just come back from the Women's Forum where we have been presenting a study that we ran with the auditing firm Mazar that was about more than 1,000 Gen Y people in 64 countries, and we asked them what were their views on gender equality. So if you want to know more about this, we'll be happy to share it at the end of the session. And fourth, and that's very important, we know how to be serious when we have to. And that's why, as often as we came, we talk to leaders and opinion makers.
The objective of this first phase of sensitization is to raise the awareness among the Y generation. Yes, gender diversity is still a big issue within organization. But yes, as a Wyer, I have the power to change things. I can transform myself from a spectator to an actor. And this is the objective of our second phase. We have created a club that puts together proactive companies and committed Wyers. Together they work during 6 months at 2 different levels. Each month, companies and students meet for a conference around an inspiring guest. The idea of this cycle of conferences is double: to enhance companies and students to think differently, to think out of the box, to stimulate their creativity. But at the same time, these conferences are a privileged moment where students and companies can create links among each other. Indeed, we are absolutely convinced at Women Up that the networking, that means the creation of links within organization, is a key professional competency to successfully manage a career, a competency young people have to acquire and develop as soon as possible. The second step of action is also very concrete and deals with business projects focused on gender diversity. Our partner companies design and propose this project according to their internal issues. During 6 months, students work on this project on their free time. Our objective is to create a win-win relationship. Students have the amazing opportunity to understand everything about gender diversity, and this at the early stage of their professional life, and to create a network within the companies that fits their professional expectations. On the other side, companies have the amazing opportunity to understand everything about this new generation's expectations, to beneficiate from a fresh, external and creative look on their internal issues, and to develop a new pool of talent. For instance, last year, the club has implemented a female network, has contributed to the realization of a qualitative survey about the internal perception of gender diversity policies, and has realized a video about the measurement of diversity, and so on. So to conclude, last year, we went here in front of you, and we committed to develop our action. We are very proud to announce you that we have overperformed. Among this objective, there was the involvement of men, from the conception to the implementation of our actions. Last year, Idris was on stage to give you his male point of view. Let me introduce you to Jonathan, who is a new Women Up team member, and who is going to tell you why gender diversity is, first of all, a main issue.
Hello everyone, hello One Young World. So thanks for having me here first. So I'm gonna tell you how they just asked me to be part of their organization, and so when they came in the first place, Adeline and Emmanuelle asked me to be a speaker for One Young World session, and they told me that my mission was to convince young men that they have a role to play for gender equality at the workplace in 2 minutes. So I just said, wow, what a tough mission, so how am I gonna do that? First, when I met them, that was in our school, ESSEC, and they came to present that organization, Women Up, to diversity and leadership chair students, and we were part of it. So at that time, as a chair student, I had to get involved in like in a project, in an organization, and I choose One Up. Why? Because what they said to me at the time, it just made perfect sense. So first, the message and what they convey that makes sense for men, and particularly young men, the ones that are part of the Y generation, as I said before. So it makes sense because young men and women, we do all have the same expectation about lives. So we are thinking alike and sharing the same wants and needs, especially when it comes to our private life and professional life. So we are thinking a lot about the relationship between both, and our ambitions as employees of a company are no longer the same. No longer what they used to be for previous generation, because we are different. So we have the same ambition no matter what is our gender. So we are looking for a work-life balance. We are real entrepreneurs. That is to say that we are entrepreneurs of our own path within a company. And then we are expecting from a job that leads to our self-fulfillment. So basically what we have in common, whether you are a man or woman, it's that we are addressing the nature of leadership itself. So, I mean, each and every one of us, we're trying to define what is leadership today, and we are trying to establish a new definition. So, we are trying to figure out whether it could encompass one or several meanings. So, first, we don't want to be isolated leaders. So, we are all experiencers, and meaning that we like to share ideas and to create desire around projects. Secondly, we like to motivate and being motivated because we like to share. So for us, teamworking is valued a lot and trust is a must. So finally, we're not that much into processes. So we need more room for intuition and creativity because we think that it will foster innovation, simply. So women leaders have tried to put it forward, they tried to put forward those ideas for ages, but they did not succeed because it was dominated by another model. So, but now that we have a community of interests, wires, as we call them, so we believe we can't achieve great things unless we share different point of views, unless we bring actual diversity at the workplace. So we can make a difference. And so what I would say, this is your chance to make a difference and your own interest to get involved in such an organization and in this great cause. So do it, be superheroes as well as all of those wonderful speakers today. And I'm really proud of you girls, of your achievements and your enthusiasm. So thank you, and thank you all.